It says which situation represents a proportional relationship. So we're trying to determine this without a graph or a table. So whenever we're looking at proportional, remember our formulas that we went over in our Cornell notes. A proportional relationship is going to look like y equals mx, where m is our slope. And if you were to take that slope and put it over 1, so m over 1 would be our unit rate. X was just our x coordinate, and y is our y coordinate. Now in here, when looking at it, none of these answers have an x coordinate or y coordinate necessarily, but we do see unit rate. So we're going to try to find the one that has a unit rate, so we can just multiply that to a quantity of however many we have to determine how much it costs. So let's take a look. It says the cost of purchasing a basket of oranges for $1.30 per pound. So there's our unit rate, $1.30 per pound. Plus, now I'm going to circle that word because that is such an important word if we're looking for a proportional relationship. Plus $5 for the basket. I can tell you, do you notice in our proportional equation here, do you see a plus sign? And the answer is no, we do not have a plus sign here. If we wanted a plus sign, it would need to look like this one, y equals mx plus b, where we would have a slope, our x coordinate, our y coordinate, and we would be adding to it our plus the y-intercept. With that being said, because it says plus $5, that $5 would be our y-intercept. So we can automatically rule that out. That is not going to be proportional. The next is the cost of purchasing peaches for $7 per box. There's our unit rate. So we're good so far. With a delivery charge of $3. Now they didn't say plus here, but it says with a delivery charge of $3. That's a one-time charge they're going to add. Then we also have to pay $7 per box. So it includes, on that one, it includes a slope, and the y-intercept would be that $3 for the delivery charge. So once again, we have this extra value that we're going to have to add to it. It's going to be $7 per box, right, which is our slope. So 7 times x, well, 7 times x plus the $3 for the delivery, plus b. So we can rule that one out. So if you haven't figured it out yet, we're trying to find one that basically just has a unit rate or has components that we can combine together to create one single unit rate that can be calculated with just this equation, y equals mx. The next is the cost of purchasing grapefruit for $1.80 per pound with a coupon for $1 off the total cost. Once again, we have a unit rate, but then they throw in this $1 off. So that's a minus, right? So that's subtracting a y-intercept. So just to give you an idea, I'm actually going to write how these would look. This first one would have been y equals 130 x plus 5. The next one would have looked like y is equal to $7, right, times x, the number of boxes of peaches with a delivery charge, so that's plus 3. The third one, we have y is equal 180, so that's our slope, 1.80 times x, with a coupon for $1 off. Well, we're going to subtract $1 from that one. If you notice, all these are in this form, y equals mx plus b, which is not proportional. So h is not a possibility either. So we're only left with one answer, so it has to be J. But let's go ahead and use the same idea of the y equals mx plus b, but we're going to use y equals mx. So this one should be y equals mx. And if we do, the cost of purchasing apples for $1.75 per pound plus, so here's this plus thing, but look what it says, a shipping fee of 16 cents per pound. Well, we're charging $1.75 per pound, And then we're going to charge 16 cents per pound for the shipping. Those two components can be combined. So if we were to write this as an equation, we would actually have, let's add those together, 175. Since they're both per pound, those are 2 unit rates. So 175 is the first unit rate per pound. And then we're also going to have an additional charge of 0.16 cents per pound. We add that together and it gives us a total of 191. Since they're both unit rates, since it says per pound, and this says, right here, per pound, and this says per pound, we can combine those two, and it gave us that 191. So our slope is going to, our unit rate is going to be 199 per pound. Or we could say it has a slope of 1.91 over 1 times x. And then, if we want to see how much it's going to cost, we basically just put how many pounds it is, because this is per pound, this is per pound. So if we have 5 pounds, we just say 5 times 1.91. Notice that this matches the y equals mx formula. So again, that confirms that J is definitely the correct answer. The others were not, because we would have to either subtract or add a value in order to get the correct answer. This one, it's all multiplication. Y equals mx. Problem, this is problem number 13. It says a water hose discharges water at a rate of 45 gallons per minute. So let's go ahead and underline that, 45 gallons per minute, that's our unit rate. Which graph has a slope that best represents this rate? Well, remember, we're doing quantity over time, which means that's our y over x, our up and down, rise, over our side to side, run. So with those things being said, I'm actually going to write it right here. I'm going to put our rise, our y, or our quantity, they're all the same thing, on top. So it's 45 gallons per minute. So 45 is our rise, and our time is per 1 minute. And that goes on the bottom. That's our time. With this being said, we just turned this unit rate. We undid the division that just gave us a whole number and put it back in a fraction. So we have a rate of change, 45 over 1. And now we've got to look at these graphs and see where can we find a rate of change of 45 over 1. And let's take a look. If we do this one, so we're going to go, our rise is 45 and our run is over 1. And there it is, it crosses 45, 1. So F, right off the bat, is the correct answer. But I still want you to follow along so we can see why these other ones are incorrect. H, for instance, has a horizontal line. Now, at 45, here we are. If we go over 1, we can put a point there. Now, that line does cross through that point. The problem is, it doesn't increase. This is horizontal, right? And anytime we have a horizontal slope, that slope is equal to 0. And 0 is not equal to 45 over 1. So that tells us that H is wrong. If you want to see that visually, what we could say is, because this is a unit rate, when we double this unit rate, in other words, 2 times 45 will give me 90, and 2 times 1 will give me 2. So when we hit 2, we should be hitting 90. So a 90 in 2. So our line, if we were to draw that, should be going through here like this. You see that? And we could triple this if we wanted and even go higher. I'm not going to do that, but we could. And what you'll see is each one of these points just hits this line going all the way up. So H is not correct. G isn't correct because if we go to 45 and we go over 1 and we go down, our point should have been right here. But look where it's at. It's over here at 3. So it's not the right unit rate. This one is saying that they do 45 gallons per 3 minutes. So that's incorrect because that's not the right slope. This one over here, we're at 45. We go over to 1. Man, this one is really close. And I could see somebody making a mistake on this. But remember, that line at 45 has to cross this point where my pencil is. So while it's really close, it's not quite there. This is a little bit less than 45 over 1. So with that being said, we didn't reach the point we needed to, so that is not an option as well. So there you go. As a weightlifter is adding plates of equal weight to a bar. The table below shows the total weight, including the bar, that he will lift depending on the total number of plates on the bar. Based on this information, which statement is true? So that means we're going to have 3 false statements and 1 true one. So we want to find that true statement. Now, the first thing we need to do, if we want to be able to determine which one of these is true, is we need to read what our options are, and it says the bar weighs 35 pounds without any plates. This one says the bar weighs 70 pounds without any plates, the bar weighs 45 without any plates, and the bar weighs 25 without any plates. With that being said, we're going to need to be able to determine what the bar is. The way we can do that is if we can find the increase that is occurring each time that we add plates, we can subtract that from our initial value and see what the bar weighs. And so just follow along with me. So for instance, from here we go to 2 to 4, we had a change of 2, 4 to 6, a change of 2, 6 to 8, a change of 2. So from here to here, let's see, we'll use our calculator. Let's make sure we don't make any mistakes. We have 185 minus 115. 185 minus 115. That gave us a change of 70. Then from 255 to 185, so 255 minus 185, we had another change of 70. 325 to 255, so 325 minus 255, a change of 70. With that being said, if we increase by 2, so that means when we add 2 weights, or I should say 2 plates, our weight increases by 70 pounds. Yes, 70 pounds of weight. So now we can go ahead and determine what our plates weigh. So if we know for every 2 plates the weight increases by 70 pounds, then what we can do, we can subtract 70, because this one says it only has 2 plates, right? We can subtract 70 from 115, and that'll tell us how much our bar weighs. So then we can say 115 is equal to the bar plus 2 plates. How do I know 2 plates? Because it says our x value is 2. So we have 2 plates plus a bar, and that gave us a total weight of 115. So I'm going to take that 115, I'm going to subtract 70, because we know that adding 2 plates increases it by 70. So if I take away that 70, let's see what we come up with. We have 115 minus 70, and it gives us 45. So let me move this up so you can see what I'm doing. So if I take that 115, subtract the 70, which is the how much each 2 plates weighs, then it gives us a number 45, and that tells me 45 must be what the bar weighs. So let's see. This says 35, so it's wrong. The bar weighs 70, that's wrong. That's what the 2 plates weigh. The bar weighs 45. That is the correct answer. So C is your correct answer. This one, you really had to do some critical thinking. You had to look at the slope and interpret it, and then you had to understand what the difference in weight was each time we added 2 plates, and then use that difference in order to subtract it from the initial value so that you could find the weight of the bar. So in this one it says the graph of the linear function is shown on a coordinate grid. What is the y-intercept of the graph of the linear function? I want you to box that, because on these you might get one that asks for slope. Make sure you box it. But this one is not asking for slope, it's only asking for the y-intercept. So we're simply going to look for, where does my graph cross this y-axis right here? And so if I follow it down, it looks like we cross right at -6. So the answer for this one is -6. In the problem, it says Lenore pays a total of $16.50 for every 6 shirts she has dry clean. So what we have here is we have quantity versus an amount of shirts. So let's see, this is our cost, and this is our shirts. So what we're gonna do is let's take that and let's go ahead and write that as a ratio of y over x. And it says which graph models a relationship with the same unit rate. Well, notice which one's higher, our cost or our shirts. And yes, it's our cost. So we're going to have one of our axes is going to be increasing at a much greater rate than the other. So let's look down here and see which one's which. And let's label it before we even get started. So cost, it's going to go higher, so up to 50. So this is going to be our cost on the y-axis. And on our x-axis, notice that it increases at a smaller rate. It's going to be our smaller number. It's going to be our shirts. Now that we know that, we know our x is shirts. Our y is cost. So we can do 1650 over 6. And that's what we're looking for. Which graph has a slope that matches 1650 over 6? Now you could go in your calculator and try to simplify this, but since they're giving us a clean number on the x-axis, I'm just going to start with that and see if we can find one that matches up. So let's go over 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And let's go straight up. And then let's go over and see where does that hit. And that looks like it hits right above 15. So this is a possibility. That might be 1650. So here I'm going to go and put a check by it because this is a possible answer. Let's make sure that we don't have another graph that looks even better. So let's go over 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And let's go up. Well, this is a problem here. It doesn't even contact the graph yet. So for 6 shirts, that means this individual is going to pay greater than $50. So there's no way that's a possibility. That's off the chart. Let's go to the next. So in G, we're going to go over to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's follow it all the way up. Again, this person at the rate this is going is going to pay greater than $50 in order to have their shirts clean. So, and it needs to be down here at 1650. So G is definitely not an answer. Over here on J, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's the same problem. Again, it's going to be even more expensive. 1650 should be somewhere around right here. So they're way off. All these graphs are way off. So that's definitely not a possibility. The only graph that's close, even though it doesn't show us an exact amount, the only one that's close is going to be F. And so that must represent 1650. That is the best answer out of all of our answers. Number 19, let me scoot it down just a little bit. It says the graph shows the relationship between the cost of some pecans, so it's going to be between cost of pecans, and the weight of pecans in pounds. So notice they've already labeled this one for us. Our y-axis is the cost, and then our x-axis is going to be the weight. So let's go ahead and move it up. It says which function best represents the relationship shown in the graph. Well, first of all, it goes through origin, right? So we know we're looking at a relationship that's y equals mx. And remember that m is going to be equal to our slope. X is our x coordinate, and y is our y coordinate. So let's see, let's look at our x coordinate and our y coordinate and see which one matches up to give us the correct slope. So let's see. This one says y equals 5x, so it's saying 5 is our slope. So in other words, if we go up 5, which this goes by 10, so 5 is about halfway in the middle. If we go up 5 and go over 1, if you look up 5 and over 1, right, because this right here, 5 is equal to 5 over 1. If we undo that division, that is our slope. And this does look like a slope of 5, 1, so I think A is definitely a possible good answer. So, but before I circle it, I'm going to check the rest of these and make sure that they don't look close too, because we don't have the number 5 here. I'm just guesstimating on where I think 5 is. So this one is 1/5. Okay, so 1/5 means we go up 1, that's about right here, and over 5. It's about right here. So that would be that one. That would be B. So B is way off. It's way below the graph. So B is not a good choice. The next is y equals 2x. So that means we're going to have a slope of 2 over 1. Right? Because 2 is equal to 2 over 1. So we're going to go up 2 over 1. Again, it's still too low. So C is not a good choice. The next is y is equal to 1 over 2. Well, that's even lower. 1/2 is going to be way down here, below this point. So again, that doesn't touch the graph either. So D is not an option. So the best answer in this one is y equals 5x. And there's our 5, our halfway point. And that is the correct answer. In this problem, we're doing number 25 in your packet. And it says the function y equals 6 plus 1.25x can be used to find the cost of joining an online music club and buying X songs from the website. Based on this information, which statement about the graph of this situation is true? Well, it gives us our equation, so let's mark that. It says X is songs, so this X represents songs. Y is going to be our cost, our total cost of joining. Alright, and it says our statements are, and we're looking for a true statement, so box that. We're looking for true, so that means 3 things are going to be false. So it says the y-intercept of the graph represents the cost of each song. Okay, well let's look at this. Let's put this in y equals mx plus b, because they got this out of order right here. What they wrote was y equals 6 plus 1.25x, but we want to make it look like y equals mx plus b. And you can see our mx needs to be moved over before that 6. So let's go ahead and do that. Our m is 1.25, and remember that's our slope. Then there's our x. Then our plus b is going to be the 6 right here. That's our plus b, 6. And then we can put y. So this is how it should look. Y equals 1.25x plus 6. The 6 is our y-intercept. 1.25 is our slope. And x is our x-coordinate. And y is our y-coordinate. Alright, so now that we got that broken down, and this just matches your Cornell notes. I showed you how to break this down the other day. So let's see, it says the y-intercept of the graph represents the cost of each song. Well, the y-intercept is not the cost of each song, remember? It says buying X songs. Songs are represented by the variable X. So that variable X, our x-coordinate, is our songs. So that's a false statement. So we can go ahead and mark that one off. The y-intercept is not our songs. The y-intercept is the initial fee for joining the club. So then G says the y-intercept of the graph represents the cost of joining the music club. Well, that is true. That's our initial cost. And if we had a graph, and this were to be graphed, what we would see on that graph is that it would start at 6. So for instance, that point would be positive 6, because that's the initial cost. Then, for every x value, the cost would increase because depending on how many songs. So this would be songs, and this would be cost. Just to give you an idea of what it looks like. So that is true. The y-intercept of the graph represents the cost of joining the music club. So that is the correct answer. It says, let's look at the others just to roll them out. The slope of the graph represents the total number of songs bought by members of the club. The total number of songs bought are going to be our x value. And so slope is the m. Total songs bought is going to be the x. So that is a false statement. So x is definitely false. Then J says the slope of the graph represents the number of songs each member buys when visiting the website. Well, that's pretty much saying the same thing. Up here it said that it's the total number of songs bought. That's what the slope represents. Here it's saying the slope represents the number of songs bought. But now it's bought off the website. So again, that's a false statement. our songs are represented by our variable x. So that is untrue. So G is the one and only correct answer. In this problem, this is number 26, it says Carolyn will buy the same number of stamps every month to add to a stamp collection her grandfather gave her. The table shows the number of stamps Carolyn will have at the end of X months. So X represents our time, which is in months. It says Carolyn's stamp collection, and it gives us a chart. It even tells us what our X is and what our Y is. So X is months, and Y is the number of stamps we have. How many stamps was Carolyn given, and how many stamps will she buy every month? So how many was she given, and how many will she buy every month? So in order to find how much she's going to buy every month, we need to be looking at our difference between these months. We said 3 minus 1, that give us 2. In this one, if we said 6 minus 3, that give us 3. So they didn't give us each stage of what's going on. They're kind of mixing it up. And then 10 minus 6 gives us 4. Here we have 350 minus 250. That gives us 100. 500 minus 350. That's going to be a difference of 150. And 700 minus 500. That's going to give us a difference of 200. Now, looking at this initially, you might be like, wow, this doesn't look constant. But it is constant. What it is we're increasing our increments here on how many months pass by. And so here we're increasing the value of the number of stamps that we have. So looking at this, if in 2 months we had 100 stamps, well, let's try to simplify this. 2 months, we had 100 stamps. That means we're getting 50 stamps a month. And if we want to check this right here, 50 stamps a month is our unit rate. So let's write that unit rate, 50 stamps per month. It's just easier to think in unit rate, or we could say 50 over 1. And we can verify that, right? Because we increase by 2 and we increase by 100. 2 times 50 is 100. In this one, we increased by 3 months, from 3 months to 6 months. So we could say 3 times 50, and 3 times 50, it does give us 150. And this one increased by 4. So 4 times 50 equals 200. So with that being said, we know for sure that we are increasing at 50 stamps per month. Now let's look at these statements and see which one's true. Carolyn was given 200 stamps, and she will buy 50 stamps every month. Okay, well, she is going to buy 50 stamps every month. And on month 1, she had 250. So let's see if that works out. So if she had 250 stamps, let me move this up. On month 1, that means at the end of that month, she had added 50 to it. So let's take that 50 back off so we could try to figure out where was she at month 0. So that's 200. So that means at month 0, we started with 200 stamps. Then after 1 month occurred, we added 50 to give us 250. So we added this 50. I just subtracted it to try to figure out what our starting point was. So that being said, she was given 200 stamps. That is a true statement. And then she'll buy 50 stamps every month. That is a true statement, because we found that every month, on month 1, she had 250. So we can say this is definitely the correct answer. We can look at this one right here, B. That's not correct, because it's saying that she buys 70 stamps every month. And we know that she's only buying 50 every month. C, while it says 50 stamps every month, it says she was given 180. Well, if she was given 180, and then after month 1 she bought 50, that would be 230. But she has 250, not 230. So that's false. And then Carolyn was given 200 stamps, and she will buy 70 every month. Well, we know she was given 200. We found that out. But the 70 stamps a month, that would mean that she would have 270 after the first month, and she's got 250. So again, that increment is wrong, the unit rate is wrong, and so it is false. So A is the correct answer. Final question is question number 9. It says, what are the slope, let's box that, and the y-intercept of the graph of the linear function shown on the grid? Okay, well, we know how to find slope and we know how to find y-intercept. So let's find the y-intercept first. I think that's the easiest thing to do. So that's where it intersects the y-axis, which is right here. So let's count down. It looks like 1. That's 2. Notice it's in between 1 and 2. So our y-intercept is in between 1 and 2. It looks like about halfway right there. I'm going to put a dot. So it looks like about 1.5. And it happens to run through the negative 1.5. Positive 1.5 is up here, and negative 1.5 is down here. So we got negative 1.5. So we know we're looking for a slope that's negative, and we have a y-intercept of negative 1.5. So let's see if we can eliminate some of these just with that information. So this one says the slope is 4 and has a y-intercept of negative 6. Well, negative 6 is way down here, so we can eliminate f. That's not true. This says negative 6. We can go and eliminate that one. And let's see. Now, here's the thing. Look, it has a negative slope on both of these. So now we definitely have to count the slope, because we need to figure out, is it 4 or is it 1 over 4? So let's go ahead and make our triangle. Go to our furthest left point, just like our instructions say. Then we come over, go down, make a right triangle. And let's count our rise. We go up a half and then 1. So it looks like we're going 1.5 is my rise. That's my up and down. Over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My run, my side to side, is 6. Now, that still doesn't match up, right? That looks nothing like 4 or 1 over 4. So what we can do is we can go ahead and put that in our calculator. So we can do fraction bar, negative 1.5 over 6. Hit enter, and it gives us a quarter. If we want to turn that into a fraction, we can go to our number, approximate to fraction, hit enter again. Negative 1/4 is our slope. So let's go ahead and rewrite that. Negative 1/4. If we look at our options, we have here negative 4, so it's definitely not that one. And here we have negative 1/4. Our y-intercept is going to be negative 1.5. And that is the correct answer.